The glass tower had swallowed the afternoon sun whole. On the 22nd floor, behind a door of tempered glass and brushed steel, $180 million was quietly dying. Zara Mitchell stood in the corridor with a catering cart that smelled of cooling miso broth and untouched sushi platters. Her uniform was the color of a bruise, deep navy, service-grade polyester, the kind designed to be noticed only when someone needed something carried. She could hear the interpreter through the partially open door, her voice smooth and confident, rounding every sharp edge into something soft. Then she heard what the interpreter had missed. The Japanese executive's words had been precise, formal, final. The kind of language Zara had spent 4 years learning to read the way a doctor reads a scan. Not for what it showed, but for what it was hiding. She had heard that exact register before. In a small office, on a day her mother's hands would not stop shaking. Her grip tightened on the cart handle. The chrome was cold. Inside the room, someone laughed. Easy, polished, the laugh of a man who believed the meeting was going well. A woman with silver hair leaned back in her chair with the confidence of someone who had never been wrong in a room like this. They had not looked at Zara once. She heard it again, the lead executive's voice dropping half a register, the interpreter's translation arriving 30 seconds later, trimmed of everything that mattered. Zara exhaled through her nose. She's just the delivery girl. The voice came from inside, low, almost amused, meant for the colleague beside him and no one else. Zara's jaw did not move. 4 minutes. She knew it the way you know weather before it arrives. The delegation's lead was already reaching, not toward the table, not toward his tea, but toward the leather folder at his right hand. The one people reach for when a meeting is already over and courtesy requires 1 more minute of pretending. She had seen that gesture before, too. "They're leaving," she said quietly. "In 4 minutes." The corridor was empty. She had said it to no one. To the carpet. To the cooling broth. To the version of herself that would have walked away. That version took 1 step back toward the elevator. Then Zara Mitchell did something she had not planned to do when she left the dispatch office at 6 that morning in her peeling left sneaker, with her mother's photo still on the fridge and a route sheet folded in her back pocket. She knocked on the conference room door and walked through it. But to understand what happened next and why a single woman in a service uniform brought a $180 million negotiation back from the edge, we need to go back to where this story actually begins. Before we do that, if you're finding this story worth your time, take a second to subscribe and drop a comment letting us know where in the world you're watching from. Now, back to Zara. The alarm went off at 5:47. Zara had been awake since 5:30. The fun is just beginning. Tell us what city you're from in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. The tension is rising. Who's watching from where? Like and subscribe to the channel. More to come. Tell us in the comments who's from which country, and give us a like and subscribe. The plot thickens. Let's check our geography. Tell us where you are now. Give the video a thumbs up and subscribe. We're just warming up. Tell us where you're watching from. Give the video a like and hit the subscribe button. The climax is near. Share where you're from, like, and be sure to subscribe. Events are unfolding rapidly. Write your city in the chat, give it a like, and subscribe so you don't get lost. The juiciest part is yet to come. Let's get started. Get to know each other. Where are you from? Like and subscribe right now. The suspense is building. Tell us where you're watching this episode from, and reward us with a like and a subscribe. The excitement is running high. Tell us what city you're from now. Give us a big like and subscribe to the channel. She lay still for a moment in the gray pre-dawn, listening to the radiator knock against the wall of her studio apartment in a rhythm that never quite resolved. The ceiling had a water stain shaped like a running dog. She had memorized it a long time ago. She dressed in the dark. Navy uniform trousers, the crease she ironed in fresh every Sunday still holding. A white undershirt, the polyester top with the silver logo on the chest, Rapid Connect Couriers, the letters slightly peeling at the R. She sat on the edge of the bed and pulled on her sneakers, left foot first. The sole on the left one had started separating at the toe. She pressed it back down. It held, mostly. In the kitchen, the coffee maker hissed and spat the way it always did. The apartment smelled like instant oats, and the lavender candle her mother had sent in a padded envelope 3 weeks ago with a card that said simply, "Keep going. Baby. Asterisk." The candle sat on the windowsill, burned a third of the way down, next to a small framed photo. Her mother, younger, laughing, standing in front of a warehouse door with a handwritten sign above it. Mitchell Import Goods. Zara looked at the photo for exactly 2 seconds. Then she poured her coffee. Her phone buzzed, a cracked screen, the fracture running diagonally across the top corner like a thin scar. She had stopped noticing it months ago. The message was from Marcus at Dispatch. Big corporate catering drop. 22nd floor, Voss and Laurent HQ. Report by 9:15. Don't be late. She typed back without sitting down. I'm never late. 3 dots appeared. Then, that's why I'm sending you. She finished the coffee, standing at the counter, looking out the window at the street below. A pigeon was fighting a paper bag. Losing, but committed. She watched it for a moment, then picked up her bag, black nylon, scuffed at both bottom corners, and left. The dispatch office smelled like Marcus always smelled. Old paper and the particular brand of energy drink that came in a green can. He was already on the phone when she arrived, but he pointed at the clipboard on the counter without breaking stride. She read the route sheet. Catering pickup, drop on the 22nd floor, corporate client noted as high priority with 2 underlines, quote underscore 3 underscore, she asked, when Marcus hung up. Quote 4. He pulled the green can toward him. Quote 5. He looked at her over the top of his glasses. Quote 6. Zara folded the route sheet and tucked it into her back pocket. She turned for the door. His voice stopped her. He paused. She looked back at him. Something behind her eyes was very still. Quote 13, she said, and walked out into the morning. The Voss and Laurent building did not have a regular entrance. It had an arrival experience, 2 sets of revolving glass doors, each etched with a thin geometric pattern that caught the light like cut crystal. A lobby that stretched 40 feet in every direction, floored in pale stone so polished it reflected the ceiling back at itself. The air smelled of white flowers and something cooler underneath. Climate-controlled, deliberate, the scent of a place that had decided exactly what it wanted to be and spent considerable money achieving it. Zara pushed through the service entrance on the side street. It smelled like floor cleaner and exhaust. The service desk was a folding table beside a freight elevator. A security guard sat behind it, mid-40s, heavy set, a badge that read D. Cole clipped to his chest pocket. He was looking at his phone when she approached. She set the first catering bag on the counter. Quote underscore 14. He didn't look up. Name: Mitchell. Zara Mitchell. It was called in this morning through your events coordinator. He typed something. Waited. Typed again. You're not in the system. I was dispatched at 8:15. It's an urgent order for a meeting that starts at 9:30. He finally looked at her. His eyes moved from her face to her uniform to the bags on the counter, the way someone reads a receipt, quickly, without much interest. I can't send you up without clearance. Can you call upstairs? Lines are busy. He looked back at his phone. Zara stood still. The freight elevator hummed behind her. Somewhere above, 39 floors of polished certainty rose without her. She had learned, a long time ago, that the worst thing she could do in a moment like this was let it show. So she set the second bag down carefully, adjusted the strap of her nylon backpack, and waited. 6 minutes passed. A man in a tailored charcoal suit walked through the lobby entrance, the main one, the glass and crystal one, and was waved through reception with a smile before he reached the desk. Zara watched, filed it, said nothing. Then a woman in a red blazer came briskly through a side door and stopped at the desk. "Cole, did catering arrive?" He looked up. "Someone's here, not in the system." The woman turned and saw Zara. Her eyes did the same thing Cole's had done. Quick, cataloging, sliding away. She was already turning back toward the door. Cole said, suddenly efficient. He didn't apologize. He didn't look at Zara again. He simply handed her a laminated visitor tag that said "Service" in block letters and turned back to his screen. Zara clipped the tag to her uniform pocket, right beside the peeling silver R of her company logo. The freight elevator doors opened. She loaded the bags. The doors closed. Above her, 22 floors away, something was already going wrong, and no one up there knew it yet. The 22nd floor smelled like green tea and expensive anxiety. Zara pushed the cart off the freight elevator into a corridor that was nothing like the one downstairs. Up here, the walls were pale gray with large format photographs of fabric, silk, wool, linen, blown up to the size of windows, each one lit from behind like a painting in a museum. The carpet was the color of storm clouds, and thick enough that her sneakers made no sound at all. She stopped. After 3 floors of squeaking on service linoleum, the silence felt strange, deliberate. A young woman was crouching by an electrical panel near the corridor wall, a laptop bag sliding off one shoulder, ink stains on 2 fingers of her right hand. She looked up when the elevator opened. Quote, 29. Quote, she asked. Quote, 30. Quote. The woman stood and pointed down the hall. Quote, 31. Quote. She hesitated. Quote, 32. Quote. Her name, Zara would learn, was Nicole. Mid-20s, junior events coordinator, the kind of person who apologized when other people bumped into her. She walked quickly, the laptop bag bouncing against her hip. Zara said, keeping her voice easy. Nicole glanced back over her shoulder. She paused. She paused. Nicole checked her watch. She paused. Nicole checked her watch. Quote, 39. Zara filed that away. They reached the end of the corridor. Through the glass panel beside the door, she could see the conference room. Crystal oval table, 12 chairs, the 3 Japanese executives seated on one side in dark suits. A water glass in front of each one, untouched. On the other side, the Voss and Laurent team, 4 people, including a woman with silver hair cut in a sharp bob and a gray suit that probably cost more than Zara's rent. Between both sides, a woman with a leather portfolio and a headset around her neck. The interpreter. Just wait here, Nicole said softly. They'll break soon for the setup. How does it look in there? Zara asked. Nicole was quiet for a moment. She looked through the glass at the delegation, at the untouched water glasses, at the way the lead executive's hands rested flat and still on the table. She dropped her voice. She gestured vaguely toward the Japanese side of the table. She said it the way people say things they don't expect anyone to act on. Then she shifted her laptop bag and gave Zara a small, tired smile. Sorry. Long morning. I'll let them know setup is here. She turned toward the door. Thank you, Zara said, for the escort. Nicole paused, hand on the doorframe, and looked back. Of course. Sorry about downstairs, by the way. Cole's... She stopped. He shouldn't have made you wait. It was a small thing. 40 words, maybe. But Zara felt something in her chest loosen slightly, like a knot that had been there all morning. She turned back to the glass and watched the room. The door to conference suite B was not fully closed. Someone had set a rubber wedge at the base, for air circulation probably, or because someone had been going in and out with materials and hadn't bothered to pull it shut. Whatever the reason, it left a gap of 4 inches, enough for sound to travel. Zara positioned the cart against the wall and began arranging the cold container beside it. Moving slowly and quietly, the way she always moved in spaces where she wasn't supposed to matter. The voice she heard first was the interpreter's, clear, professional, practiced English with a faint Northern European accent, underscore underscore quote underscore 5, 1 underscore underscore Zara's hands stopped. She knew those words. Or rather, she knew they were not the right words, because she had just heard what Mr. Tanaka actually said in the half second before the interpreter began. She had heard the formal register, the specific phrasing, the grammatical construction that in written Japanese appeared in final notices and withdrawal letters. Mr. Tanaka had not expressed a hope. He had issued a conditional ultimatum. If the structural terms of the agreement were not clarified before the conclusion of today's session, his delegation would not be proceeding to contract. Zara straightened slowly. She pressed her back against the corridor wall. Inside the room, the silver-haired woman, the one in the suit, responded with warm confidence. Quote 52. A pause. Then one of the other Japanese executives spoke quietly to Mr. Tanaka in Japanese. Zara heard it clearly. Quote underscore 53 underscore Mr. Tanaka's reply was 4 words, quiet, final sounding. I know. That's the problem. Zara's chest tightened. She looked down the corridor. Nicole had gone. The hallway was empty except for the hum of the climate system overhead and the distant sound of someone's heels on the floor above. 40 feet away, the elevator doors stood closed and waiting. She could load the cart back up, leave the bags outside the door, text Marcus that the drop was complete, be back at the dispatch office by 10:15. She thought about doing exactly that. Then the interpreter's voice came again through the gap. Underscore underscore quote underscore 55 underscore underscore. Zara closed her eyes for 1 second. He had said nothing about fabric documentation. He had said, in precise formal Japanese, that the contractual language around liability allocation was structurally unacceptable, and that his legal team had flagged it the previous evening. The interpreter had turned a legal objection into a compliment. Not out of malice. Zara understood that immediately. Out of the same thing that had destroyed her mother's business 6 years ago, were Dao Sich. The assumption that formal language was ornamental, that tone was decoration, that the meaning sat in the words themselves rather than in the architecture around them. She understood it because she had lived inside the consequence of that assumption. Her hand moved to the cart handle, gripped it. She was not ready to make a decision. Not yet. But her feet had already stopped moving toward the elevator. She had been 7 years old the first time she visited her mother's warehouse. It had smelled like cardboard and packing tape and the particular sweetness of silk fabric still wrapped in tissue. Her mother had walked her through the rows of shelving, one hand warm on Zara's shoulder, explaining each item the way a teacher explains something she loves. Every piece has a story, her mother had said, where it came from, who made it. You have to know the story to know the value. Zara had been 23 when the warehouse closed. She didn't let herself go back to that memory often. It cost too much. But standing in the corridor of the 22nd floor, listening to $180 million quietly slip through a gap in translation, she felt it surface the way cold water surfaces. Suddenly, completely, from somewhere underneath. The contract that ended her mother's business had been 41 pages. The English summary had been 3. The summary had described a fair partnership between a small American import company and a Kyoto textile supplier. What the full document contained, buried in page 31, in a subordinate clause in the original Japanese, was a liability transfer. A single sentence that said, in effect, if the goods fall below standard, the buyer absorbs the loss. Her mother had never seen page 31. She had trusted the summary. Zara had read that page in full 18 months later. By then she already had enough Japanese to understand it without help. Not because she'd studied it in a classroom, but because she'd spent 4 years in Osaka working in the same industry that had taken everything from her mother, learning the language inside the economic machinery that ran on it. Learning it the way you memorize a road only after you've driven off it once in the dark. She had read page 31, and she had sat very still for a long time. Then she had called her mother, quote, 58, quote, 59. Her mother's voice, warm even then, carrying the slight accent from years of moving. You sound tired. I found the clause. A long silence, the sound of something being set down in a kitchen far away. I know it's there, her mother said finally. I figured it out after. You never told me. What would have been the point? A pause. You can't unfold time, Zara. No. Zara had looked out the window of her Osaka apartment at a city that had taught her more about loss and language than any institution ever could. But you can learn to read it. Now, in the corridor outside Suite B, a voice came through the gap in the door again. The interpreter, bright and reassuring. Mr. Tanaka notes that today has been a productive session and looks forward to continued dialogue. Zara heard what Mr. Tanaka had actually said. He had said, "We have reached the limit of what can be achieved without accurate communication. We will not return after today if nothing changes." Her jaw tightened. The interpreter had just described a closing door as an open window. Down the hall, the elevator chimed softly. Doors slid open. No one got out. Zara did not move toward it. Nicole came back down the corridor at 9:48, a tablet tucked under one arm and a look on her face that was trying very hard to stay professional. She stopped when she saw Zara still standing by the cart. They haven't broken yet? No, Zara said, and I don't think they're going to. Nicole looked at the door, then back at Zara. What do you mean? Zara kept her voice low. The delegation. How long has your interpreter worked with Japanese clients? Nicole blinked. She's fully credentialed. 3 languages. Patricia hired her specifically for this account. That's not what I asked. A pause. Nicole shifted the tablet to her other arm. I don't know. A few years, I think. Academic background. Why? Zara didn't answer directly. She nodded toward the door. __quote _79 __ Nicole's expression changed slightly. The professional surface stayed, but something underneath it moved. I don't think so. This is the first direct Japanese partnership at this level. Then someone needs to know, Zara said carefully, that the way a Kyoto family executive signals a final objection does not sound like an objection. It sounds like a polite observation. And if the person translating doesn't know that... She stopped herself. Nicole was very still. How do you know that? I lived in Osaka for 4 years. I worked in textile import and export. Zara paused. I learned what I needed to learn. Nicole looked at her. Really looked, the way almost no one on this floor had done all morning. Her eyes moved from the service badge to Zara's face and stayed there. __quote _86 __ Nicole said. It wasn't a question. The lead executive reached for his folder 12 minutes ago. He put it back. He won't put it back again. Nicole pressed her lips together. She looked at the door, then at her tablet, then back at Zara. Patricia's in there, she said quietly. She runs this division. She's been building this partnership for 14 months. I know. She's not going to... Nicole stopped, started again. Walking in there and telling her the interpreter is wrong is not going to go the way you think. No, Zara agreed. It won't. Silence stretched between them. The climate system hummed. Somewhere behind the conference room door a chair shifted. Then a voice, Mr. Tanaka's, low and measured, said something in Japanese that Zara heard with complete clarity through the 4-inch gap. She recognized the phrase. She had read its equivalent in a document once, on page 31 of a 41-page contract. It was the formal language people used when they had already made a decision and were now simply observing the courtesy of saying it aloud. He was standing up. Zara heard the soft sound of a leather folder being lifted from a table. Nicole heard it too. Her head turned sharply toward the door. Quote, 95, quote, 96, Zara said. She straightened, smoothed the front of her polyester uniform with one hand. The silver R on her chest caught the corridor light, its edge still peeling, still imperfect. She walked to the conference room door and knocked twice. The door swung open before Zara could push it. Patricia stood in the frame, tall, silver-haired, the gray suit immaculate, her reading glasses pushed up on her head like a crown she'd forgotten she was wearing. Her eyes landed on Zara's uniform badge in under a second. Quote, 97, quote, she said. Quote, 98, quote, 99, quote, Zara kept her voice even. Quote, 100, quote, 101, quote, 102, quote, Zara said it quietly, without drama, the way you tell someone their coat is on fire. Underscore, quote, 103, underscore, Patricia's expression did not change, but she did not close the door. That's a significant claim, she said. Yes. From a courier. Yes. A beat of silence. Behind Patricia, through the open door, Zara could see the 3 Japanese executives still standing. Mr. Tanaka's folder was in his hands. His associate was already reaching for his jacket from the back of his chair. Patricia turned slightly and looked at them, then back at Zara. Quote, 108, quote, 109, quote, 110, quote, 111, quote, 112, quote, 113. Zara held her gaze. She paused. Patricia studied her for a moment. The peeling badge, the navy polyester, the worn left sneaker. Her expression was unreadable, not cruel, not warm, calculating the way someone calculates before a decision they can't take back. From inside the room, a soft sound, fabric moving, a chair being tucked in. They're going, Nicole said from behind Zara, barely above a whisper. Patricia's jaw tightened. Her eyes moved back to Zara one more time. Quote 117, quote, she said quietly, quote 118, quote 119, quote, Zara said, quote 120, quote, Patricia stepped back from the door. It was not an invitation. It was the absence of a block. The space between those two things was narrow, and Zara walked through it anyway, pushing the door open with the flat of her palm, stepping onto carpet so thick it absorbed the sound of her entrance entirely. The room smelled of cold green tea and tension that had been building for 2 hours. 8 people turned to look at her. The interpreter's face registered confusion, then a careful blankness. The Voss and Laurent team looked at Patricia, waiting for a signal. Patricia stood behind Zara and gave none. Mr. Tanaka looked at Zara the way he had not looked at anyone else in the room all morning, directly, without the social courtesy of looking slightly past her. His folder was still in his hands. Zara met his eyes. She bowed, correctly, at the right angle, for the right duration. Then she spoke, in Japanese. In the formal register, his question had deserved 40 minutes ago. I apologize for the interruption. I believe something important was not communicated accurately, and I would be honored to try to correct that, if you are willing to allow it. The room went completely still. Mr. Tanaka lowered his folder. Not all the way. Just enough. His eyes stayed on Zara, reading her the way she had been reading this room all morning. Then he spoke, in the same formal register she had used, and the Japanese that came out was precise and careful and completely honest. You heard what was said through the door. Yes, Zara answered in Japanese. I apologize for that as well. Don't. He set the folder on the table. Sit down. Patricia made a sound behind her. Zara did not turn around. She pulled out the nearest chair, one of the Voss and Laurent side chairs, empty, and sat down at the edge of the table in her navy polyester uniform while 8 people in tailored suits watched her do it. The interpreter leaned toward Patricia. "I'm not sure what's happening." "Neither am I," Patricia said quietly. "So we're going to find out." Mr. Tanaka spoke again, measured, direct. His 2 associates exchanged a glance but stayed still. Zara translated without pausing, her voice level matching his register exactly. He says, "The core issue is not the timeline. The core issue is a liability clause in the draft agreement that transfers quality dispute responsibility entirely to the buyer. His legal team identified it 2 days ago. He raised it formally this morning. He raised it again 40 minutes ago. Both times the response he received suggested the concern had been understood and would be addressed. He now believes it was not understood at all." The room went very quiet. One of the Voss and Laurent executives, a man in a blue suit who had been smiling easily all morning, stopped smiling. Patricia looked at the interpreter. The interpreter's face had gone the color of the pale gray walls. Quote, 131, quote, the interpreter said. Quote, 132, quote, 133, quote, Zara said. Not unkindly. Quote, 134. Patricia held up one hand. The room obeyed it instantly. She looked at Zara. Quote, 135. Quote, 36. Zara kept her voice steady. Quote, 137. Silence. Mr. Tanaka spoke again, quietly this time. His associates both looked at the table. Zara translated. Quote, 138. She paused just for a moment. Underscore, quote, underscore 139, underscore. Patricia looked at Zara for a long moment. The reading glasses on top of her head, the gray suit, the 14 months of work sitting in a folder on the table between them. Underscore, quote, underscore 140, underscore, she asked. Zara looked at her cracked phone screen, at Marcus's message still open, at the route sheet folded in her pocket. Yes, she said. I can stay. Mr. Tanaka picked up his untouched water glass and drank from it for the first time all morning. She called her mother from the stairwell at 1:30, sitting on a concrete step with her back against the cold wall and the sounds of the city muffled 22 floors below. Her mother picked up on the second ring. Baby, you sound different. Something happened today. Zara pressed the phone against her cheek. I'll tell you everything. But first, are you okay? I'm always okay. A pause. The familiar sound of her mother's kitchen. A kettle somewhere. Underscore, quote, underscore 147, underscore, Zara told her. All of it. The door, the folder, the clause, the words she had recognized because she had memorized their shape from the inside of a loss that still hadn't fully healed. When she finished, the line was quiet for a long moment. Mama, I'm here. Her mother's voice was warm and uneven at the same time. Quote, 150, quote, 151. Zara closed her eyes. Quote, 152. Another silence, softer this time. Quote, 153, her mother said. Quote, 154. Zara sat with that for a moment. Then she stood up, smoothed her uniform, and walked back through the stairwell door. 6 months later, the 22nd floor looked the same. Same pale gray walls. Same fabric photographs lit from behind. Same carpet thick enough to swallow sound. But the office at the end of the corridor, the one that had been a storage room for event materials and folding chairs, had a new nameplate beside the door. It read, Cross-Cultural Partnerships. Director, Zed Mitchell. The partnership with the Kyoto textile house had been signed 8 weeks after the meeting. The liability clause had been removed entirely. The restructured agreement ran for 5 years. Patricia had made the call herself. She hadn't framed it as a debt. She had framed it as sense. We almost lost everything because we assumed credentials were the same as knowledge, she told the board. They're not. The interpreter had left the company quietly. No announcement, no scene. The truth had simply made her position untenable, and she had known it before anyone said a word. Nicole was now on Zara's team. She brought coffee every morning, the real kind from the place on the corner, and left it on Zara's desk without asking how she took it because she'd paid attention. Zara's mother signed a lease on a small house in March. Yellow door, a garden in the back, still mostly dirt but full of intention. She sent Zara a photo with one line: "There's a room for you here whenever you need it." Zara printed it and pinned it above her desk, next to a piece of fabric, a small square of Kyoto silk, a gift from Mr. Tanaka at the signing, navy blue, with a texture like cool water under her fingers. One afternoon, a new courier arrived on the 22nd floor. Young, uncertain, the service badge slightly crooked, a security escort hovering nearby with the particular patience of someone waiting to redirect. Zara stepped into the corridor, caught the young woman's eye, gave one small nod, the kind that says, "You're in the right place." That was all. That was enough. What hurt you and what made you? Sometimes they are exactly the same thing. If this story stayed with you, hit like and subscribe. This channel is built for stories about people who turn being underestimated into their greatest advantage. And tell us in the comments, what would you have done in Zara's place? Next time, we have a story about a janitor who spoke 7 languages, and the moment a boardroom full of executives realized it, don't miss it.